Let it be known. Good morning. Absent the large crowds that routinely attend an inauguration, and with snow flurries helping to push the tens of thousands of American flags that blanketed the National Mall in Washington, D.C., President Joe Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris took the oath of office before an enthusiastic gathering that featured more law enforcement than spectators. After Chief Justice John Roberts swore him in, President Biden spoke about the importance of a unified America after 4 years of an administration that orchestrated perhaps the most profound divisiveness in modern history. Welcome. We are in day two now, actually the first full day, but still day two of the Biden-Harris administration. We're going to talk this morning with our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis, about the various executive orders signed by President Biden on his first day. He went to the White House after a visit to Arlington National Cemetery. He and the vice president took that last walk, that block before the White House. They walked to the White House. In fact, President Biden spotted D.C. Mayor Muriel Bowser before he went into the White House and went over to make sure to greet her. And we talked about statehood yesterday during our marathon 9-hour broadcast for D.C. What a good sign for Mayor Bowser there that the president went out of his way to greet her yesterday. But it was an interesting day yesterday, to say the least. It was a historic day. Kamala Harris becoming the first woman, the first Black woman vice president as well. She paid tribute to Shirley Chisholm with the purple, as you see there. And of course, she represented the Alpha Kappa Alpha sorority with the pearls. And many young women, well, women young and old around the country, were wearing the pearls in honor of Kamala Harris and also in honor of the Alpha Kappa Alpha. Kamala Harris is a graduate of Howard University and HBCU, and she's also a law school graduate as well. So lots to unpack from the inauguration yesterday. We also saw a young African-American woman, 22-year-old Amanda Gorman, addressed the crowd with a fantastic poem, one of the best you'll hear, and she delivered it in an amazing way. Good morning, Dr. Chavis. Welcome, our president and CEO, Dr. Ben Chavis.
Good morning, Stacey. Everybody is still in a celebrative mood after yesterday, and thank you so much. We are breaking news and discussing the news of the day. It's good to be with you.
Well, it's always good to be with you, Dr. Chavis. After taking the oath of office, Dr. Chavis, President Biden went to work immediately in his first hours in the White House. He picked up a pen and signed 17 executive orders to begin undoing some of the damage inflicted by the former administration. Among those orders, Dr. Chavis, he targeted racism. And here's something that the Black press is really looking forward to. The president said he wants all federal agencies, and this is in an executive order yesterday, to review equity in their programs and actions. With the executive order, President Biden demanded that the Office of Management and Budget analyze whether federal dollars are distributed equitably in communities of color. It's a big thing, real big thing.
It's a very big thing. You recall for 4 years, Eleanor Holmes Norton, Congresswoman Eleanor Holmes Norton from Washington, D.C., fought valiantly and diligently to get the GAO and the federal government to address these inequities. We already know that there are inequities, particularly in how the federal advertising dollars are spent. So this is good news for the Black press. This is good news for Black America. This is good news for Black-owned businesses. It appears, well, not appears, we can say on the record this morning that President Biden is keeping his word to Black America with his first actions in all of these 17 executive orders, and particularly this one on equity. Equity has financial consequences.
Absolutely. And on that note, Congresswoman Norton's bill mandates that all federal agencies provide a line item in their budget for money spent with Black and Latino owned newspapers and, of course, minority businesses. Her bill rejects any agency's budget that does not demonstrate substantial advertising and other spending with minority owned businesses. And we know last month, the Biden team told the Black press that he fully supports that, and that executive action yesterday really demonstrates that he does support it, Dr. Chavis.
Absolutely. And let's do a special news article on that so we can give Black America further illumination and details. And one day next week or soon, let's try to get Congresswoman Norton back on to congratulate her. And also, we're going to try to get Cedric Richmond, who's the senior advisor to President Biden and also director of the Public Office of Public Liaison for the White House. I mean, there's so many things. We could spend the whole day just discussing the 17 executive orders. But this is good news for Black America. And of course, Vice President Harris is right there with him. We're so pleased to have the first Black woman as Vice President of the United States. So you're going to see an active Vice President, an active President working together. And I thought President Obama's and President Bush and President Clinton's words to support President Biden was so very important. And after his inaugural address yesterday, so I think our hopes are high. Sometimes in the Black community we're a little cautious. We're getting too hopeful because sometimes our hopes are always dashed. But something that Dr. King used to say, he used to say that truth crushed to the earth will always rise again. And certainly we're seeing the rise of truth after being crushed to the earth for 4 years.
Yeah, and among those executive orders too, he disbands the former administration's 1776 commission, which was an 18-member board that the former president put together to study the president's concern about the education system being so-called too liberal. He wanted to teach what he called real American history. So that is gone.
Well,
That was
he wanted to teach white supremacy
right.
and to have a historical apologetic for white supremacy. And of course, that's been taken off the table. Where our children, all children, not only Black children, white children, Latino children, Native American children, Asian children, all of God's children need the truth, the facts. And I think for 4 years we've dealt with a lot of untruth. Now we're going to deal with the truth. The truth will set you free if you get it.
Yeah, and moving along with that, Dr. Chavis, here's another important thing that the president did yesterday with the executive action. He ordered that non-citizens that have lived in the country count in the U.S. Census, and that reverses Trump's order last summer that prohibited the census from counting undocumented Americans. And so President Biden said that the former president's order did violate the U.S. Constitution. So he wanted to ensure that the Census Bureau has time to complete an accurate population count for each state, and then he will present to Congress an apportionment that is fair and accurate, so federal resources are efficiently and fairly distributed for the next decade. And that's so important because the census, as you know, the Black press has been talked about all year. The count is so important for resources. So much resources are tied up into that count, Dr. Chavis.
Absolutely. And keep in mind, the census lasts for 10 years. So what was done in 2020, I'm glad to hear that the new Biden-Harris administration is going to straighten out the census because it was inadequate. Black people were undercounted. Latinos were undercounted. Undocumented were not even counted at all. So I think a lot of the census is probably going to have to be redone in the first quarter of this year. But I'm glad President Biden is on it. This executive order is going to help us. And keep in mind, the census also will determine not only the reapportionment of allocation of resources, but the reapportionment of political lines. Congressional lines are going to be redrawn as a result of the census. So it's consequential. It's going to last for 10 years. We're not going to have another census till 2030. So we got to get this straight in 2021.
Oh, absolutely. And, the president, as we said, 17 executive orders. One of those orders, he wants to protect the workers, all workers, from discrimination. He called on Congress to grant permanent status and a path to citizenship to dreamers. And you remember President Obama actually put that program, that Dreamers program, in place, and that is keeping with another campaign promise. And also, he signed an order to end the Trump-imposed travel ban on individuals from Muslim and African countries. He ordered the State Department to restart visa applications for those countries that were affected. So he and he also said, you know what, this border wall nonsense has to stop. He ordered no funds be spent toward a border wall. And we got a statement from Senate Majority Leader Chuck Schumer. And in fact, Dr. Chavez, as you know, Chuck Schumer was sworn in yesterday as the Majority Leader now. It flipped because of what happened in Georgia on January the 5th. Leader Schumer says in a statement, over the last 4 years, the previous administration took enormous steps backward. One of the first things we must do is undo the Trump regression, and executive orders are one of the most effective tools to accomplish just that.
Oh, yes. And we're looking forward to working closely with the Senate Majority Leader Schumer, with the Speaker of the House, Pelosi, and with the President of the United States, Biden, and Vice President Harris. It's a good team. And I think the interests of Black America that we report on daily. And Stacey, thank you for your leadership in making sure that 7:30 Eastern Time every morning, Monday through Friday, we're on the case reporting the news. And again, so, we're going to have special editions of the Black Press. There's so much news that impacts Black America as a result of the inauguration yesterday, the history-making inauguration of Joe Biden and Kamala Harris.
Well, let it be known, the Black Press will be right here to bring it to you all. The inauguration, Dr. Chavez, one of the things that President Biden pledged in his speech, he said his whole soul, he says, my whole soul is in this. To overcome these challenges, to restore the soul and secure the future of America requires so much more than words, and requires the most elusive of all things in a democracy, which is unity. And so he's pledging unity, Dr. Chavez.
Absolutely. And, I've been listening not only to what was said at the inaugural committee feed, but I went and surveyed all the other communications vehicles and media. And I'm sad to say that Fox News, unfortunately, still to be on the attack. They spent more time yesterday on uh, former President Trump's departure from Washington and his arrival in Florida than they did on the inauguration itself. It's very sad, And so, what we need, and one of the things that President Biden said in his inaugural address, is that we're going to have to address all of those that be putting out these falsehoods and alternative truth. For President Biden, facts matter. For the Black press, facts matter. And I think that science matters. I'm so glad we rejoined the World Health Organization. Here we are in the midst of a global pandemic. More Americans die in proportion to any other country in the world. And the last administration quit its membership in the World Health Organization, the leading organization to deal with the global pandemic. So now we're back in, and I'm going to make sure that we reach out to the director, Stacey, of the World Health Organization, have him come on, let it be known. I know it's a big time difference, but we need to hear from that distinguished organization. And Dr. Fauci is now the chief medical advisor to President Biden on the coronavirus. So there's a whole, not only national team, but global team. And I see Bobby Henry is on the case.
Yes.
I just saw his shout out. I'm so glad that what he continues to do. And now that the former president is back down in Florida, Bobby Henry, you got to have your hands full to keep former President Trump in check while we make sure that the Biden-Harris administration makes considerable progress over the next 100 days. 100 days, 1 million vaccinations per day. That's a big order to challenge the coronavirus and get a hold of it. But I think there was any administration that's capable of reaching the goals of the next 100 days. It is the Biden-Harris administration.
Yeah, and as you said, we're happy to say that the man named Donald Trump is Bobby Henry's problem now, right?
Well,
Bobby,
Bobby is tall. He's got good stamina. I know he'll be able to handle it, and I'm sure the West Side Gazette and all of our papers, and not only in Southern Florida but throughout the state of Florida, are going to be on the case.
yeah, and good morning to Derek Reynolds and Tochi Adocha. Good morning, Bobby. Bobby makes a point too. Not only has President Biden turned the pages on that man, he has closed the book on him, and it's true. We talked about that yesterday during the NMPA's historic coverage of the inauguration. 9 hours of coverage. We brought our viewers. We did talk about that. The importance of looking forward. No need to look behind anymore, to look forward. And there's really not a whole lot to say that hasn't been said about Donald Trump at this point. We can focus on what the president said yesterday. He says this is democracy's day, a day of history and hope, of renewal and resolve. He says through a crucible for the ages, America has been tested anew, and America has risen to the challenge. Today, we celebrate the triumph, not of a candidate, but of a cause, the cause of democracy. The people, the will of the people has been heard, and the will of the people has been heeded. So President Biden really wants to shape the administration, shape the country through his vision now. He saw what happened over the last 4 years. We all saw what happened over the last 4 years. And so it's time, as Bobby Henry says, to close the book.
Absolutely. The book is closed and a new book is opened. And the new book is entitled Joe Biden, Kamala Harris, President Joseph Biden and Vice President Kamala Harris. That is the new book. And we already read through the first page of that book yesterday. We're now on the second page of that book. And the first 100 pages of that book is going to be good news for Black America. We're going to be engaged every day. We're going to be diligent and communicative of the public policies that are being enacted, as well as the results of the enactment of these new public policies. I think about George Floyd and the way he was murdered. We're going to get the George Floyd Policing and Justice Act. We're going to get the John Lewis Voting Rights Act done. We're going to get reparations done. We're going to get a lot of things done for all communities, but particularly those who have been impoverished, those who have been discriminated against, those who have been harassed, those who have been brutalized by white supremacy. So we're closing that book. That book is closed on white supremacy. No air, no oxygen in the White House for all those negative, racist, backwards tendencies.
Yeah, and one of our viewers, Tochi Adocha, is asking, do you have any ideas on how can we keep the new administration accountable for policies they said they would incorporate this time around? We talked about that a lot yesterday.
We talked about it a lot yesterday. Accountability is engagement. Accountability is maintaining good communication. Accountability is giving feedback. Call and response, as we say in the Black church and in the Black press. So yes, we will. Accountability has already started, and what we have to do, and that's why the Black press is so important, so we can keep our communities informed, our constituencies involved and activated. That's how accountability takes place. It's a two-way street.
Yeah. And 17 executive orders on the first hours in office. Really, I think it's a testament to President Biden keeping his word to Black America and to all of America. So
Right.
He started off hitting home runs. So we'll see where that goes. Another thing, Dr. Chavis, um, the legacy of Barack Obama. It's interesting because his former vice president, who is now the president, gets to help keep that legacy going because Donald Trump did everything he could to destroy anything, even the things that Michelle Obama put in place for young girls, young women, anything that was loosely associated with the name Obama. Donald Trump made it a point to try to destroy. But now the most important things like the Affordable Care Act, President Biden has promised to strengthen it and not dismantle it like the former administration. And that was, speaking of the Affordable Care Act, we know that was Obama's signature piece of legislation.
Absolutely. And healthcare is going to be a major priority, restoring the Affordable Care Act and actually expanding it so that more people can get health insurance and adequate health care, particularly during this pandemic stage. It's so vital. So, across the board. But let me say something about the executive orders. President Biden has done what he promised. Now it's the execution of those orders. The new cabinet, well, he still has to get most of his cabinet members confirmed so that they can implement the executive orders. And I would want all of us to stay vigilant. We need to look at these 17 executive orders and all of each detail so we can report a summary to all of our newspapers, Stacy, and media companies so that we can follow because the response to the executive orders, our responses are just as important as the orders themselves. I remember back in when Bill Clinton was president, he issued an executive order on environmental justice. But what happened was a lot of the agencies didn't follow the executive order. And because we didn't put a lot of pressure on those agencies to follow those executive orders. I guarantee you that those of us in the black press, the NMPA, representing the black press of America, we're going to stay on these executive orders to make sure that they are implemented by every federal department, every federal agency that's under control of the Biden-Harris administration.
Well, and he signed two of those executive orders he signed were on climate, and one that recommits the U.S. to the Paris Climate Agreement, and another that reverses the former administration's hostility to environmental regulations. And one commentator noted that no president has brought in this many people at the start of an administration to work on climate change, noting the huge team that President Biden has committed to climate and
Uh,
environmental regulations.
Absolutely. And the environmental justice movement should be very pleased with these executive orders. Environmental racism is still a reality, not in America, but throughout the world. And the movement to challenge and to end environmental racism is called environmental justice movement. And that's part of the climate change, getting a hold of the issues of the deterioration of the environment because of ozone and CO2, carbon dioxide production. Got to put all that stuff in check. And so I think we will have a lot of policies as a result of these executive orders. And I think the members of Congress, I think both on the House and the Senate side now will be following through on the specifics of how these matters of climate change, environmental justice, healthcare, education, economic development, supporting particular minority-owned businesses, all these things have to be addressed now also legislatively. And we are very hopeful. We have good leadership in both now the Senate and the House, and we're looking for results.
Yeah, absolutely. And the other thing too, we should note that the president repeatedly stressed the importance of truth and included obvious reference to the former administration criticizing them. He says lies told for power and for profit has to end. He said there will be moments when we disagree, but we have a common goal, which is sharing accurate information with the American people.
That's right. There's a hunger and thirst for the truth. There's a hunger and thirst for facts. And certainly we're looking forward. Another engagement that we're going to do Stacey, in 2021, we're going to have with the White House press corps. We're going to have somebody House briefings. There was a White House briefing last night on the first day, and
Mhm.
we're going to have photographers and writers to get this news to Black America in a real time fashion.
Yeah, and good morning to David Youngblood. David says, truth, a breath of fresh air. It was a pleasure to have you yesterday, David, join us. And it's a pleasure to have you every morning looking in. Dr. Chavis, before we close this morning and get on with the rest of Thursday, your last message for this morning.
Well, thank you. This is the day after the transition of power, the day after a new 46th President of the United States, Joseph Biden, the day after the first Black woman Vice President of the United States, Kamala Harris, the day after 17 executive orders that affect and will improve the quality of life not only of African Americans, but all Americans. The day after, hope has been restored, is being restored to America.
Absolutely. And we want to thank all of our publishers, not only the ones who you saw yesterday on the program, but all of our publishers, all 230 of our publishers, the Black Press of America, and also a special thanks to Claudette Perry, our executive administrator, and Chanta Jackson, our wonderful producer this morning, and Norman Rich, who does a great job all the time. Remember, it's not whether you get knocked down, it's whether you get up. Let it be known. We'll see you tomorrow morning.
God bless. Thank you very much.